NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman spoke for the first time today about the sexual assault charges. The players were part of Canada's 2018 World Junior team, and they're facing charges related to an alleged group sexual assault in London, Ontario in June of that year. Bettman addressed the charges at a news conference in Toronto, where the NHL is holding an all-star game this weekend.
There are reports of indictments. We have not received official confirmation from the London authorities that 5 players have been or will be indicted, although it appears from reports that they will be. As such, and if charges are pending, it would be inappropriate to provide further comment on the matter. Finally, as I think everyone knows, all of the NHL players who appear to be subject of indictment are no longer with their teams, and so at this stage, the most responsible and prudent thing for us to do is await the conclusion of the judicial proceedings, at which point we will respond as appropriate at the time.
CBC's Cameron McIntosh was watching the news conference, joins us now live. Cam, we heard a bit from the commissioner there. What else did he have to say?
Well, Hannah, anyone that's been watching Gary Bettman over the past 2 decades would not be surprised by his statements today or his demeanor. Very businesslike, very scripted, very lawyer-like. Gary Bettman, after all, is really a lawyer's lawyer when it comes down to it at the end of the day. Basically saying that the NHL is content to let the legal process go about its course, and that could take a while. We heard from the commissioner today calling the allegations against these 4 current NHL players abhorrent, saying that they are not reflective of the culture of the NHL, going on to say also that the league is taking this extremely seriously. It has conducted its own investigation. He won't go into the details of that, basically saying that the NHL's investigation takes a backseat to the legal process that's underway right now. So saying basically that the NHL isn't going to comment on its findings. And Bettman does have a little bit of latitude here with these charges that are expected to be formally announced on Monday, in that the 4 players have all left their NHL teams. They're all on leave from their teams. They're not playing. They are on leave. But what takes some pressure off of Gary Bettman in his role as commissioner here, all 4 of those players have contracts that are expiring at the end of the season. So basically what the commissioner is saying is that the NHL is really not in a position or in need of taking any further disciplinary action against these players because they won't have contracts for next season anyhow. Take a listen to Commissioner Bettman.
They're away from their teams now and they're all free agents. As a personal matter, if I were them, I would be focusing on defending themselves, assuming the charges come down, and I would be surprised if they're playing while this is pending.
So basically Gary Bettman there saying he doesn't expect to see these guys on the ice this season, and you know, kind of listening there and reading between the lines, he doesn't expect any teams to be signing these players over the course of the summer or to take that kind of financial risk at least, and frankly, a PR risk as the legal process plays out here. And this could take quite a while. They're expecting this trial might not actually happen till late 2025 or early 2026. That could be, 2.5 seasons from now, and that's quite a long period of time in any NHL career.
Yeah, Cam, Bettman was also asked if there are systemic problems in hockey. What did he say to that?
Well, of course, Gary Bettman will say no. People will point to other cases in hockey. Take a look at the Kyle Beach situation last year. Basically, the NHL is saying that it's committed to a safe workplace, a respectable workplace. In light of what happened in Chicago with Kyle Beach, the NHL has embarked on a program of basically training throughout the entire league, players and team staff. Sheldon Kennedy's been involved in that kind of work. But in the broader context of hockey, speaking of Sheldon Kennedy, it's more than 25 years ago since he brought the issue of sexual abuse in hockey really to light. And here we are talking about this now again in 2024. Regarding players who were born well after Sheldon Kennedy first came out. So yes, a lot of critics are pointing to issues in hockey and in hockey culture. Gary Bettman saying that the NHL is committed to making hockey a more respectful place.
Cam McIntosh, thank you for these details. We're going to stay on this story, bring in Trish Benusturum. She is the Public Education Coordinator with the Sexual Assault Survivors Centre in Sarnia, Ontario, and helps deliver educational programs to Ontario Hockey League players. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you.
I want to get right to something that the Commissioner said. He said that 99.9% of players, at least in the NHL, conduct themselves appropriately. What was your reaction when you heard that?
My reaction is not to blame all hockey players. However, a lot of this stuff is hidden. So that 99%, it really can't be accurate. It's not like they're going to do this behavior in front of people. And it's just an underreported crime. So it could be happening more than we know.
Do you think by saying that, it kind of says to the players, we're doing everything right?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, everyone has work to do. Hockey Canada, NHL has a lot of work to do, and the players as well. Like, there's definitely, I would not be comfortable saying that they're doing everything right at this time.
I want to ask you, before we get to what you do on the sidelines, because it's really important. He was asked about the woman who made these allegations. He says, we have to let the process play out here. What did you make of that response?
It's just really hard because that to me doesn't support believing survivor. So my lens, our lens as an agency, is we believe the survivor. The process to let it play out, it's not a fun process. It's long, lengthy, re-traumatizing. It just, to me, kind of sounds like the solid belief of the survivor isn't there.
Let me ask you what you deliver. You deliver the OHL Onside program. Tell me what you focus on.
We focus on a few things. We talk a lot about masculinity, healthy and unhealthy. A lot of that kind of combines with the language they're using, insults they make that are derogatory that actually relate to women. We have conversations around how that's offensive and how that's stereotyping or portraying female-identified people. We also talk about how it's difficult for them to stay inside this box, to be tough and strong all the time. We talk about consent. We have an excellent conversation with the teams around consent, and they really engage in that. But what I have noticed is in those conversations, and it's not to their fault, I think, they're not fully informed on what isn't and what is consent. Those are our main focuses of the OHL Onside.
Do you find the players receptive?
Oh my gosh, I do. They've been very receptive, and they've asked open questions, and they've engaged in the interactive activities that we provide. They don't seem like they're just staring at us like blank-faced and not taking the information. They're engaged.
You talk about consent, and this is really at the core of this issue right now that we're seeing playing out in London, Ontario. Let's talk about these young men that you train. You say that this is a discussion they really welcome. Do you feel that they're ill-informed when you're talking with them, when you start talking with them?
I think a lot of people at that age level are all ill-informed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that across the country and a province especially, we need to be having these conversations with kids at younger ages. However, when we chat with them about it, I think a big blur is when it comes to alcohol and nonverbal body language when it comes to consenting and fawning and freezing and having trauma reactions that they need to recognize, everyone needs to recognize as, okay, it's time to stop.
Talk about that a little bit more. Can you give us one of your lessons on that when it comes to alcohol being involved with consent?
Yeah, we have to touch on the law. We talk about how you can't give consent when you're under the influence. But we do have those real conversations. Like, we know people go out there and have drinks and they are engaging in sexual activity. But then we go further and talk about, well, how incapacitated? Like, can someone function? Are they passed out? Are they needing help to be walked to the couch? Those are very, very clear factors that they cannot engage and give consent. We just
Are they? Let me just jump in there on this. Are they surprised when they hear this from you?
They're not surprised, but they have a lot of questions around just almost like how much is too much alcohol or drugs. So we really have that conversation around the reality is you shouldn't engage or pursue if someone is under the influence. However, if that's happening, we talk about, are you a couple? Have you talked about this prior? Do we know our limits? Do we know when someone's super incapacitated and can't function? I don't think they're surprised, but I think it's a little bit eye-opening for them at the same time.
And just finally, before I let you go, how long do you think it'll take to change what we opened up with? It's this culture that maybe we're seeing that, Gary Bettman doesn't feel there is one of these, dangerous cultures or toxic cultures in the NHL.
I would disagree with that. We're seeing in Canada in general, I would just say rape culture. They're promoting, they're hiding, they're glorifying sexual assaults, and that has to stop. And I hope Onside is helping a little bit with that. But we're doing as much work as we can with our local sports teams here, not just OHL. And we are trying to get into schools at younger ages to have these conversations with kids. So it's not, it's more preventative.
I want to thank you for your time today on this important topic.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Trish Vannerstoon is with Sexual Assault Survivors Center.